My video for November the 21st, 2018, video number 2914, is entitled, How the U.S. Creates Shithole Countries. There may be others, but I have long held up Ron Paul, Dennis Kucinich, and Cynthia McKinney as examples of people in government who have bucked the system and tried their best to tell truths that are inconvenient for those in power. Cynthia McKinney, in her new book, How the U.S. Creates Shithole Countries, has gathered a collection of essays, including one of her own, that clearly shows that it is the U.S. that is responsible for the poverty and suffering in these very nations. The first series of essays describes U.S. foreign policy and its true motives. In the essay, The End of Washington's Wars on the Cheap, U.S. foreign policy is described as follows. Here's the template for typical empire action. Find some weak country, subvert it, accuse it of human rights violations, slap economic sanctions, trigger riots, and intervene militarily in defense of democracy, freedom, and self-determination, or some other combo of equally pious and meaningless concepts. A hypocrisy of such a policy is obvious. A weak and vulnerable nation is victimized by a far more powerful one. The U.S. has done this countless times in its ugly history, and there appears to be no appetite in the government to change it, including Trump himself, who refers to poor nations as shithole countries in his speeches. It should incense everybody, but it doesn't. I still get people, mostly on the Christian right, that probably got Trump elected in the first place, for which I'm actually thankful that Hillary didn't get in. But I'm still, as I keep on saying, am not convinced that Trump is doing anything good. His attack on Julian Assange is insane to me. And yet there are people that are Trump defenders that defend it and saying it's just a smokescreen. He doesn't really mean it. And I would like Trump to drain the swamp. Will Hillary be arrested? Will Bill be arrested? Will the Bushes be arrested? Will other government leaders and people in high places in the government and in entertainment industries be arrested? Will these warrants ever find fruit and actual action being taken against these perverters of human decency? And that's what they are, folks. We're talking about pedophiles. We're talking about people that have abused the most innocent of all of humanity. That is our infants and our children. Are we going to wake up? Are we going to hold those accountable? And will our Creator actually take responsibility for creation? People don't like it when I say that. And I keep on saying it, and I will keep on saying it. Because I don't believe humanity by itself can accomplish the things that need to be accomplished to turn things around and make planet Earth the beautiful paradise that it could be if we'd stop all the weather modification and other insane things that have been going on for generations going back millennia. We've got to stop the wars. We've got to stop the lies. We've got to stop the perversions of everything that's decent and everything that's honorable and respectable. We've got to be able to get to the bottom of this and turn it around. How do we do that? How do we do that? I agree with Cynthia McKinney and those that call third world countries shithole countries. I agree with the document that I read that I'm making this video in reference to, because we have to tell the truth. We cannot fix the problem by circumventing the truth. We have to lay the blame where the blame belongs. We have to lay the responsibility where the responsibility belongs. Will the Trump administration take responsibility for actually cleaning house or draining the swamp, as he kept on promising? Not if he keeps going after people like Julian Assange. Not if he keeps supporting the attack on third world countries. Now, about the wall, okay, they're building a wall. I've seen pictures of them actually putting rolls of barbed wire up along on the top of the fence, 3 layers thick of barbed wire. Nobody's going to get through that unscathed, not very easily anyway. Will that solve the problem? No. The problem is that there are a lot of poor people in the world that are looking for ways out of their poverty. And George Soros and other creeps that have a lot of money are paying some of these people to come to the United States to invade the US borders and enter the country illegally. I support Donald Trump in that. They have to enter legally, not illegally. But the problem is that the United States has created these impoverished nations by its own policies, by insanity. And that's exactly what it is. It's insane to treat any human being with such disrespect as people in third world countries have been disrespected. And look at Gaddafi and Libya. He had turned Libya around. He was making Libya a model of freedom and of a country that actually the government actually was on the side of the people and building things up. And Hillary says, we came, they died, what difference does it make? We've got to get rid of that attitude that Hillary has. But it's not just Hillary. It's not just Hillary. It's the whole government system has been permeated with this abusive mentality, and many of the people are pedophiles. Many of the people abuse little kids. This is what I keep trying to get through to you. These are not sane people. These are very sick, perverted individuals, and they need to be held accountable. And whatever demonic elements there are on the spiritual side, whether in angelic form or demonic form, I think in some cases they may be the same entities just with a different face, but they need to be dealt with, and we need to fix the craziness and the debauchery and the crimes against life itself. We need to learn a whole lot of things that of how we've been enslaved and how we're going to get out of the enslavement. And that can only happen through telling the truth and living in as much of a loving attitude, in a loving manner with others, not saying we're the only ones that are right, but listening to each other and trying the best to find ways that we can build bridges of communication and help repair some of the serious problems that the world has, including third world, so-called third world countries that have been impoverished by first world countries like the United States and Britain and the European Common Market and yes, even Australia and stuff. I mean, there's so much that needs to be fixed. And we're not going to fix it by pretending it doesn't exist and by only focusing on the positive. That's craziness. That's insanity. We have to acknowledge the situation as we experience it. And experience is never anything other than experience. It's always the true experience. Anyway, folks, if it sounds frustrated, you're right. And I do thank you for listening. Namaste.